Hey, what's up guys? UrAvgWarGamer is back with another video of World of Warships. And today I have a very interesting and different topic of World of Warships, and that is related to the accuracy of the guns. You can actually improve the accuracy of any ship class in the game, specifically battleships and cruisers, particularly cruisers like Petropavlovsk, Napoli are pretty much going to get a lot of buff from this thing if you use it, and that is about using range mod on particular ships. Now I'm using the example of Montana because Montana in fact using artillery plotting room mod 2 instead of the main battery mod 3, which reduces the reload time by 12%. And I mean, you are really looking forward to get this really good accuracy. But one thing that I want to tell you that is if you put range mod on Montana, which you can actually use by doing artillery plotting room mod 1 upgrade, I mean you slap the mod upgrade on this third slot, you can actually get the range increase, but in some way you can also increases its vertical dispersion, which in fact you cannot able to see in this game client. It's hidden from players. This is something that Wargaming has basically hidden from the players because, well, for them, this says that it's too complicated for players to understand, and well, you do have actually maximum dispersion only of horizontal ellipse. Okay, let me explain a bit more what I'm talking about. Okay, so I am coming up to this Reddit post which basically says range mod for better dispersion on what ships. Okay, so first of all, Petropavlovsk and Napoli and Riga, these are some of the ships that actually can get a lot of benefit if you use range mod, because it improves it really improves their vertical dispersion significantly. Similarly, even I mean there is also a Reddit post which is basically says that Yamato vertical dispersion is also improving with range mod, with spotter, and with legendary mod. I mean it's basically giving some comparison with legendary mod, but if I say it in short way, I mean in fact the more total range is, the more better vertical dispersion at any range. Okay, so if you have original range, for example in the case of Yamato, or maybe in the case of Montana you have maximum battery firing range of 23.7 kilometers. Okay, now if I put this range mod on the Montana, for example here, if I put the artillery plotting room mod 1, you basically increase the range. But not only that, you're also increasing its, or at least improving its vertical dispersion by maybe a couple of percentages. And vertical dispersion decides that if the shell's actually going to land on that citadel, which can increases the consistency of the battleship that you really need in World of Warships. And not only the increase in the range by using this range mod, you can also increase that dispersion, vertical dispersion accuracy by also using spotting aircraft. Because, well, the thing is that your base firing range, which is in the case of Montana is 23 kilometers without the range mod, well, that vertical dispersion must be some number, right? But well, when you increase the main battery fire range to maybe 31 or 32 kilometer with, you know, spotter plane and range mod, well, your vertical dispersion still remains the same for that insanely higher range now compared to what it previously was before. So what I basically mean that by that is that originally if you have 23 kilometer, now you will have better vertical dispersion because your maximum firing range is increased, and hence the reason why you might see vertical dispersion improvement around 20-19ish kilometer. I will give you an example by the help of this ballistics calculator to basically able to even more analyze and understand what I'm talking about. So this is the website, which is World of Warships ballistic calculator. I will probably give you the link of this website, so you can actually able to just tinker up the dispersion things by yourself and find out whether it is possible or not. But I already have done this with the help of this website, and as you can see, I have Montana, with its particular parameters where its maximum firing range is going to be 23 kilometers, which is base. As you can see here, I have put the maximum distance input to 23 kilometers. And for the other set of ship, which is again Montana with range, well, it does have increased range. So now it is 27 kilometers. And well, for the other Montana, which is Montana plus range plus even spotter plane when you're using it, against a target, your maximum distance increases even more. Like it's around 30 and 31 kilometers if I'm not wrong. So I put the numbers, and now I want to see whether the dispersion, the vertical dispersion, going to get improved in the game client or not. Can I actually able to get some more damage because of the improved accuracy? So let's find out. So after making the graph in this website, you can see this is the horizontal, dispersion basically of all three of those Montanas. A Montana with range, a Montana with range plus spotter plane using at the same time. So you can see that it is basically linearly going up or increasing in dispersion as soon as you have maximum range. But in the case of vertical dispersion, well, you can see there is some difference in parameters. So if, for example, the Montana that does have probably the lowest firing range, well, as you can see that the vertical dispersion is slightly increased compared to the Montana with range, which is on blue color, and Montana with range and spotter, which is of green color. I mean, there are some other parameters, but they all show that compared to the normal Montana, which does have pretty much normal range, like 23 kilometers, well, the Montana plus range plus spotter does have improved vertical dispersion from this chart. So clearly, if you have increase in range, the vertical dispersion basically going to get better. And that's pretty good. So what actually you can do by basically seeing that? Let me show you that. Well, so in the case of Montana, well, you can basically not use main battery mod 2 because I have George Doe Captain and it does have improved third traverse. So if I don't even use third traverse on Montana particularly, I can now use artillery plotting room mod 1, which is basically unique on American battleships. Combined with the fact that you can also use this artillery plotting room mod 2 on the 6th slot as well as spotter plane, I am quite sure that you will definitely going to see a lot much value and get some better vertical dispersion improvement. And hence the reason why the Montana guns would be slightly more consistent in the landing those citadel at crucial moments. And well, if I talk about the Yamato, for example, well, in the case of Yamato, as you can see, you already have aiming system mod 1. In this case, I mean, it's a bit different, in compared to Montana. Those upgrades are a lot different. The American ships does have some interesting things going for it, but Yamato is basically a standard battleship, and you can basically use aiming system mod 1. But what you can really do is to either you use main battery mod 3, which improves the reload time, or you can use the range mod, which does slightly increases, obviously, improves the vertical dispersion. But I would say in the case of Yamato, this is totally up to you. If you are really not liking the Yamato, with its dispersion right now, you can use, or at least you can try to use gunfire control mod 2. Well, it does certainly increases the range, but I would say the base range of Yamato is already too high. So I think in this case, I won't recommend you to use that on Yamato, the range, but definitely on Montana if you ask me. Like I can show you here. Montana, definitely there is not a whole lot of drawbacks. You can simply use artillery plotting room mod 1 to just slightly increase that dispersion. I mean, there are a couple of other cruisers other than battleships that can actually use that as well. So let me show you that as well. So for example, in this Reddit, they basically talked about Petropavlovsk, Napoli and Riga because they have quite similar dispersion ellipse pattern for the vertical dispersion. And let me show you that real quick. So as you can see here, I have Petropavlovsk, two Petropavlovsk. One is with normal range and one is with extended range. I mean, you put the range mod, then you will have Petropavlovsk with range. So I have this increase in range in this one, which is around 21.4 kilometers, and the other one has basically standard 18 kilometers. So if I can go there into the dispersion charts, specifically into the vertical dispersion, well, first of all, as you can see, horizontal dispersion gets no improvement whatsoever. They are basically similar. But what is really important, as you can see here, we have this vertical dispersion. Now, in this case, you can see that at close ranges, because that's the gimmick of the Petro, right? These Russian cruisers at close ranges are pretty accurate. As you can see here, it is pretty good at around 11 kilometers. And when you started to have more ships further than 11 kilometers, well, you can see here that the dispersion, particularly the vertical dispersion, gets worse over time. And well, in the case of range mod Petro, that basically goes from 11 kilometer to 13 kilometers. So you get actually 2 kilometers extra improvement in terms of its better dispersion. So you might have really good chance at 13 kilometers to basically slap broadside harder than basically, someone else. And that's really, really good. And hence the reason why I would say if you put the range mod on Petro, not only that you have increase in range, but at close ranges around 13, 14 kilometers, you can clearly see here, even at 14 kilometers, it is definitely better than without range mod Petro. And similarly for 15, for 16, because, well, you can see there is a gap between the dispersion of these two ships with the range mod or without the range mod. And hence, it is definitely worth it on Petro if you don't have, by the way, the legendary mod. And if you do have legendary mod, which is another whole big video about it, because it will obviously going to get slightly complicated, that whether should I use the range mod or the legendary mod of the Petro. But I would say range mod without legendary mod is certainly going to be better. Now in this case of Napoli, because Napoli also kind of shares the similar pattern like the Petro in terms of its dispersion, vertical dispersion at ranges. So you can see here that the Napoli have like 11.3 or 4 kilometers, 11.4 kilometers where it is relatively accurate, and after that it will get worse with the range over time. And similarly, if you put the range mod on Napoli, you will now increase or at least have improvement in vertical dispersion now starting from 13.3 kilometers, and it will get worse from here rather than from 11.4 kilometers. That's definitely going to be better. So these two ships will definitely going to help a lot. Now, if you ask me, I have tried Montana with the range mod as well as using spotter plane, and I definitely felt that around 17, 16, 15 kilometers, I do slightly see some consistency while getting some flatter shells. Like, the better the vertical dispersion is, the better the chance of those flat shells hitting towards the target where you want to basically aim or land, and you get some citadels as well. So I have some consistency while using spotter, specifically spotter, and using range. When I use the range of Montana alone, I might not have seen that much improvement, but maybe in some cases I did felt a bit better. But again, in the case of Montana, you are not basically losing anything else than third traverse. If you really love third traverse, it's totally up to you then. But I would say having slightly better range is still not bad if you want to snipe carriers, as well as getting that improvement in dispersion, particularly vertical dispersion. But one thing that I can tell you that it does not affect whatsoever horizontal dispersion. So this is one thing that you keep in mind, and I would say it's recommended on Montana. Well, if you talk about Republic in this case, well, you can also use the range mod, but do you really want to lose the main battery mod 3 upgrade, main battery reload time buff? If you want to lose it, you can use range mod, but again, because that does not help a lot, like it is not significant buff in terms of its vertical dispersion. I think in the case of Republic, I won't recommend you, but maybe in the case of Montana, which I have already showed you, it can actually help a lot. Please go and comment in the description below, and even try to test it yourself in randoms or in training room, and basically explain to me even whether you actually get some results from this thing or not. I have tried and tested in randoms as well as in training. I didn't make a whole lot of clips about that, but there is some consistency out there, but I won't say it's like crazy or significant, but there is some change. And even I have basically told to my clanmates that maybe try the range mod. For example, the battleship, which is a steel battleship, I don't remember the name. Oh yeah, Ruggiero di Loria, right? So you can basically get some dispersion maybe on that Ruggiero di Loria, because it does have poor dispersion. I don't have Ruggiero di Loria, but yeah, you can certainly use the range mod on that. With the spotter plane, it will definitely going to get some buffed improvement in its vertical dispersion. So please comment me down below and try and test out yourself and see if you do get some value. So till then, I will definitely going to catch you guys later. And if you are new to the channel, definitely like, comment, and subscribe. And I will catch you guys later. Peace out.